Is that the real? That can't be the real Slasher. Can't be. Oh my god, it actually is. Is it just me or do things seem relatively okay? Rod, dude. Holy shit, brother. Listen, you've been playing Diabotical and smoking weed for the past fucking 3 months. So let me tell you, homie. Let me tell you, things are not okay. But it's alright, you had a birthday recently and you've been rolling back your glory years. Brother, things are far from fucking okay, dude. Like, really. If I'm saying it, I've been Counterstrike's biggest fucking cheerleader for fucking 15 years. I'm telling you. The community know. There's some other bits and pieces that I noticed tumbling out. Like, yeah, that's the real Slasher. That's really Rod. It's good to see you, mate. I've been worried about you actually. You didn't reply to my last few messages, but that's nothing new. You know, I don't like seeing the players being weaponized. Here's something that people aren't really sort of tapping into here. One of the issues that we have with kind of what the CSPPA is doing is that it is tapping in to the most base instincts of the players. It's telling them they're the power brokers, and they are in a way. Not entirely. But that it's encouraging them to fight the wrong fucking fights. It's, you know... It's go after the blast for something your employer did. Because you can. What does that mean? Like, what are we doing that for? Yeah, Rod, mate. I don't know. Maybe I should just want to talk on Discord. Although, listen, I'll just add, given that you're coming from the perspective everything is fine in CS, you might be a little bit behind the curve. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of conversation we're gonna have, brother. But all right, fine. You might lack the relevant information. Where the fuck are you? I'll call you.
Dude, I'm all about selling for stream.
Yo, are you on your phone?
No,
or are you actually on a PC?
Yeah, on a PC.
Oh, okay. I always forget you have a shit microphone. How you been anyway? Let's start there. Talk me down off the fucking ledge by just telling me how your life's going and how you doing.
Oh, awful. So, you know, CS is doing better than I am right now. Does that make you feel any better?
Nah, not really. Why? What's up, dog? Nothing you can talk about on stream, I guess.
Okay, that's good. Give you some good comparison.
No, what's up,
what's going on? I'm all right. Dude, I'm 35, man. My time is coming to an end.
What does that mean?
You know, like...
Brother, I'm 39 in January, you mad cunt. I'm staring down the barrel.
You're already
down the barrel of 40.
Yeah, I know. You're done. You're pretty much done. But I'm not there yet, Richard, okay? And I'm scared. I'm scared and I'm afraid.
Listen, this is, dude, like, you don't even know, man. Like, fucking... Like, first of all, 36 is when it all really went downhill for me. That was the baldness. That was the inability to lose weight. That was the getting up in the middle of the night 3 times to piss. That was the sore knees. I think you're all right for another year. I mean, like, just keep smoking weed and try not to think about it. That'd be my advice.
You know, I do that all the time. Thank you. I'm really good at, doing that, ignoring everything that's, responsible in my life. Yeah, A+ all the time.
But, like, there's nothing gone really bad in your life, is there, or something? Like, I mean, you're okay.
No, and that's not how things work, by the way. Okay, you watch The Price is Right. We do things by 5. Okay, we loved 5 here in America. If you ever watched The Price is Right, the old days, whenever you had to guess a 5 at the end of the number, it's always 5. Always 5. The 36 is nothing. When I get to near you, I'm really gonna end it. I think.
Great.
In a video game, Richard.
Yeah.
In a video game.
Thanks.
It's always
Definitely,
you know?
I've run on for 2 minutes and he gets my fucking stream ban. Are you trying to get me back on the Trainwrecks podcast? Is this the long con?
Well, I'm not partnered, so nothing can happen to me, you know? So I don't have a check mark. I just infect everybody else's streams.
Sorry,
hey, it could be worse. You could be Destiny right now. And things could be a lot worse currently today. So sorry, we're getting way off topic. By the way, I have been paying attention. And
well, you have to say that because you're on a stream now, but you can't think everything's all right. I saw you call out Valve just the other day. I actually read your tweets, for good or ill.
No, I mean, okay, look, I am trying to be positive about the situation. I mean, unironically, yeah, I am also part of the selling the esports dream that everything's magically great and everything's good, and esports valuations are really a $500 million for every team, Forbes and yada, yada, yada. We're all making tons of money.
The Forbes stuff was outrageous. I'm going to record a video on that. The Forbes are just
of course it is. It always is. Everything is outrageous. All possible avenues. So I understand. And Counterstrike is going through like tons of different issues, but it's all relative to other things in esports. Esports as a whole while it is succeeding during COVID, it is now taking a backseat to what I would say is Twitch culture and live streaming culture, which is kind of overshadowing esports as a whole, and that has been hurting the industry wide. And that has, I think that to me is bigger than the CS interfighting stuff. I would put the larger aspect of esports as a whole and where that is right now compared to like other mediums and media, and Valve's lack of inattention, and the way they treat the game as bigger problems than like ESL versus Flashpoint versus Blast, or the voice comms, or the watching other people's screens, the screen cheating. I would say the match fixing in tier 2 is pretty bad, but even that I don't think is as bad as Valve's inattention of the game. I think all of those things, while they are all definitely contributing to the problems that Counter-Strike has now, are less relevant than how Valve treats the whole scene as a whole. I mean, look, we talked about this all the time. The whole reason all these leagues get to do all of this is because of the way that Valve is set up as a company. However, you get all the problems along with it. If you want to let everyone make money, and the leagues can use the IP, and you can sell the media rights to fucking Facebook and YouTube or whatever, and you can use their game to do whatever you want, you also get them not really giving a shit about like helping the esports and competitive side, and they don't really want to step in and like help do the circuit. It's not a laziness about not holding the major, but like, I know Riot is an exception here considering they're owned by a Chinese company, and doing it in China is a whole subject in itself. I totally realize that. However, and it's a ton of money. It's not like Valve is some fucking broke ass company. They're probably one of the richest companies in the world per employee.
They are by per employee. They were the richest company in the world by per employee.
They could figure out a way to do a bubble for the international and for the major, or something that doesn't require delaying it at the very last second and having no plans to even do it by next year. Like, obviously, safety first, and we want to have people safe, and we can't have any cases of COVID. Obviously, that is the predominant way you need to look at it. However, the way they do shit is causing a lot of the cascading problems that we have here.
Yep. Yeah. Listen, I mean, look, you have to understand, I was very adverse to games developers ruling over the scene, like kind of like little Lord Fauntleroy's, Lord Farquhar's, because I've seen the destructive force of that repeatedly. When that happens and no one calls them out on it, like no one in the games journalists did, no one in the esports industry did with Riot Games, that's how you end up with a company that systemically abuses women, that thinks it's okay for managers to fart in their employees' faces, that bans top-level esports competitors for a year for saying they don't like the design of a skin, people who would go in and read chat logs from community scene members so they had incriminating evidence on them.
They'll ban players for saying free Hong Kong, and then Masters free. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This is so, listen, if you ask me, Like, still, I'll say this, I'll die on this hill. Like, I'd rather have a Valve who basically... Valve is the parent that lets the kid play in the kitchen till it finds the fucking bleach. Riot is the fucking helicopter parent that never lets the kid live a day in its life. You know? It's like... Well, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I'm fucking telling you right now, yeah, we are paying in CS for that inattention, for the lack of concern. Like, Valve just don't give a fuck. Valve are out there partying, doing their own thing, while CS grows up by itself, essentially. You know, and it's like, yeah, enough is enough, but... Holy shit, I don't want to live in a Riot world, because you know what's coming in Valorant? Every motherfucker that chips in and builds their scene for them, 90% of those guys ain't getting to stay. Thanks for building Valorant and making it great, but we don't like you. You're not allowed to stay. You can't be a caster. And remember, they've done it to people who bled for their games in the past. Like, you know, think about the shit Froskerin had to go through just to become established as a member of broadcast talent. It's beyond ridiculous what they did to her. People, again, I'll just say it. People don't remember they stopped ESL hiring her for an independent IEM event because they said we don't think she's good enough or right enough for our games, even though it was ESL's decision on who to hire. They intervened to stop her getting a job. That's Riot Games. I don't want Valve to be like Riot.
Can't you talk about an hour long of stories of the amount of things that ESL, DreamHack, Blast, fucking every other dead tournament organizer that now exists have done over the past however many years? I mean, look, I know that what you're saying about Riot is true, but you have horror stories from like every major league, and they're all still involved in Counterstrike. I mean,
it's the tyranny of the developer. Like ESL get pushed. It happened to me. I got kicked out of a StarCraft event because Riot Games said if Richard Lewis is in the building at this time working your StarCraft event while we're running a League of Legends event, we'll pull your right to have League of Legends event start. That's how much Riot fucking hated me. Why? Not because I'm like some insane destructive force, like a Tasmanian devil maelstrom just ruining everything he touches. No, because I was the one voice in the whole of esports that wanted nothing to do with them. I knew what they were from the moment I saw them. There was an after party in like 2013, at some IEM, and I saw them all come in the red shirts, and it wasn't just a macho thing, it was men and women alike, and they literally pushed people out of the way, the journalists, the players from other games, and people were going, what the fuck are you doing? I'm queuing up for a drink, and they went, we're Riot Games, this is our shit, this is our after party. It wasn't. They weren't running it. It was nothing to do with them. I knew straight away what they were. They were a bunch of fucking narcissistic thugs, egotists, who, because they looked out and got a bunch of Chinese money, thought that esports belonged to them. I knew straight away what Riot was. I saw him. I saw him coming a mile off. And I called it out. And I've been telling stories about them. I knew who they were when Nick Allen tried to fucking strong-arm me. And I still got the Skype log to this day. And he come up and went, Richard, you're not making any friends in this business. Why can't you be more like Travis? What, suck your fucking dick every time you do something wrong? Nah, never my mouth, mate. Get a fleshlight if that's how you're rolling. And as soon as Nick Allen got out of Riot and got fucking deprogrammed, he apologized to me for that. You know what I mean? Like, so, if the choice... If the choice is turn Valve into Riot, nah, I'll quit esports tomorrow. That cannot be the fucking solution.
It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, I've always thought there's got to be a best middle ground between the total inattention that a Valve or an Epic do, and they just do not give a fuck about the larger competitive esports community compared to how they run the game, which is actually kind of debatable still for Valve and their games, and the super controlled status of Blizzard and Riot and how they managed to seem to fuck up everything, which I got to give credit for. Riot is not nearly fucked up as hard as Blizzard has with all of their games. Riot's actually done a pretty good relative job in the way that they've, handled their esport compared to Blizzard. So it could get worse, Richard. It could always be fucking worse. It could be Activision Blizzard. Things could be fucking way worse than it did.
Yeah.
And but dude, look, okay, question to you. How many
morons.
How many CSGO majors has Gabe Newell been to?
Oh, none. I know
Fucking
that.
zero. Gabe Newell went out for cigarettes 15 years ago on Counterstrike, and then he came back with Dota. He adopted Dota, and then fucking never saw CS ever again.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, man. I totally get it. But like, but there has like, I just don't understand. Like, what am I missing? What am I missing? Like, I've had so many negative experiences. There's like maybe 2 people at Valve that have ever been like nice to me, and I'm like, I'm not your enemy. Like, why are you angry with me? Like, what am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm doing your job for you some days. You know, I've told this story, but again, because I've got like a new audience now and people forget, so it's great because you get to be like that aging raconteur who's only got 5 fucking stories, but as long as you tell them on a rotation, you get away with it. But so people might not know this. When the iBuyPower bans happened, and I had to bang that drum for 6 months to get Valve to care about match fixing in their game. And trust me, my recommendation weren't just ban iBuyPower. It's like, look at the whole apparatus. Why is there a skins betting website that is like leading to games being fucking DDoSed every day? Valve didn't say a fucking word. Do you remember that era? You're watching the top teams play. Suddenly a DDoS has come in because some salty fucking better is about to lose some skins, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. It ravaged competitive Counter-Strike. It's amazing we made it through that era, and Valve didn't do a fucking thing while giving their API over to fucking CSGO Lounge. CSGO Lounge couldn't have operated without Valve's fucking sort of tacit permission. You just come in and you just change the API. That era of garbage never happened. They didn't fucking do it. And so I wasn't just saying like ban iBuyPower, fuck these guys, they've made me look like an arsehole. I was saying, like, there is a problem. I know there's other European players, real big names, that have thrown games for skins. I know there are tournaments where entire teams were contriving, I'll throw this game, you win this game, and if we do this, we might meet here in the bracket, and then who's going to throw that one? It was that bad. It was that ubiquitous, because nobody could conceive it would matter, because Valve were asleep at the fucking wheel, and nobody treated esports like it was a real sport. You don't know. There are some of these motherfuckers still playing to this day. They are held upright only by this insane code of silence players have. The evidence is there. Valve could look at their accounts and rumble them tomorrow. They don't care. So that was my recommendation. Anyway, fast forward. That ban was a weird day for me. The iBuyPower ban was so strange for me because the players, if you remember, had fucking wrecked me. They'd gone on Summit stream and they'd said I was a cunt and a liar and an old man, you know, desperate for relevance. You know, they were right, just not about that. You know, and Summit was interviewing them, asking questions, going, why do you think Richard Lewis is an aging bald fraud? You know, it was so, because they all shared a sponsor of iBuyPower. They fucking wrecked me. But I understood those guys were fighting for their life, like, you know, they had to. So when I saw that they were banned for a while, let it slide, and then when they said it was going to be indefinite, I was like, indefinite? That cunt over in Dota, Solo, he got caught throwing and only did 1 year. So I went and I sat down with Valve employees at Cluj-Napoca at the end of 2015. That was the Romanian major. Valve used to come to all of the majors. Don't think they even bother doing that anymore. We used to all get pins on the talent pool, you know, to say that we'd been. Don't get that anymore.
Those were nice.
Yeah, those were nice. I've kept them all. I'm going to fucking bin them. Waste of my life. But anyway, so at Cluj-Napoca, I sat down with all of the Valve guys, and I said, listen, indefinite, I didn't see that coming. I didn't sign up for that. And let me tell you a few things, like, it wasn't all equal. Maybe there's an argument. Dazed and Steel are adults. I know Brax is an adult legally, but like he went through all of this stuff. I think he had a family member pass away. They lost a lot of their income. They were living in like a fucking trailer, really struggling to make ends meet. And iBuyPower did not pay that team a salary. That is crucial to remember. They were not getting a salary at all and were promised that if they made it to a major, they would get the sticker money. That was the deal they had. And Brax was told, if you don't make money, you got to quit playing. His family told him that. They were pressuring him every day. Every time he sat down to play on the computer, they were telling him, get off. They didn't support his career, and times were desperate. Times were hard. And I told Valve all of this, and I said, that has got to make you at least consider not all punishments can be equal. And they sat there and they stroked their chins. And after about 5 minutes of silence and whispering to each other, like I was in the dock for some reason, they turned to me and they said, how dare you tell us that? And I went, what? They said, how dare you try and make us feel guilty? That was their attitude. That was their response. It was mental. I couldn't believe what was happening to me. They said we shouldn't feel bad about enforcing the only thing that matters that we need to make players afraid of, cheating or match fixing. And so I said to them, I said, if you care about match fixing so much, why don't we set up a task force? I'll share all my info with you and we'll crack the problem together. Guess what came of that? Fuck all. It's bollocks, mate. Like, I can't tell you how disappointing. You take L's like that thinking there's a W down the road. Not for me. Never for me. Never for me. But for the whole scene. And there hasn't been. Match fixing's more rife now in Tier 2 than it ever has been. They're doing it in MDL. With impunity, no one cares. Valve don't care. Well, they've only got the Aussies. They've only got the Aussies now. I mean, forget match fixing. It's now the norm if you're a Tier 2 player. You bet on your own games. Like, why the fuck? Why not? Nobody can do anything about it. Nobody can stop you. It's a grotesque violation of integrity, you know. But nobody can stop you. There's ESIC. And, like, ESIC are like the fucking last days of the Roman Empire with the barbarian hordes just charging through the cities. You're fucked. It's mate, like, so I can't believe the Spectrum is as evil as Riot Games were back in the day and as controlling and manipulative as they were, or fucking Valve, who've literally been out to lunch for 8 fucking years. It can't be. It can't be. That cannot be our industry
that is
as
where
a
we
whole,
are
but it will not survive that.
Well, obviously, no. I mean, personally, I think a lot of the effort, it's not that it's wrong to focus on things like team comms and the screen cheating and the amount, of course, the match fixing. And, you know, these are things that, and the whole demo camera shit from earlier in the year, these are things that, of course, need to be addressed and handled so that Counterstrike is in a good position. But it really does feel like all of these forces need to come together and demand Valve take up a bigger step here. Dota 2. The Dota community is basically in the same boat, except worse, because their game is not doing nearly as well as Counter-Strike is in the West. And that is always going to hurt Dota on a larger scale. Well, at least more in America. I mean, Counter-Strike is always going to be much bigger than Dota in America. And with Valve being an American company, yada, yada, they're always going to... I mean, Gabe loves Dota, and that's probably why Dota sometimes gets more attention. That and Ice Frog. Leading the game.
I've had people tell me tangentially to Valve, people fucking cozy up to Dota to impress the boss. And it's meant to be this revolutionary company that's not like all the other companies. And you got that level of brown nosing going on. Oh, that
is entirely how that company works.
I have like an inner circle so many at the Hyatt from Valve, but the state of Counter-Strike as it is of today cannot be forgiven. It cannot be forgiven.
If Dota is in a worse position, it really feels... if Dota's in a worse position, and both games generally have the same leagues running the tournaments, I mean, I don't know what the DPC is like now, but I'm pretty sure it's probably DreamHack and ESL that are running half of the circuit. It really feels like the players from both games and all the different organizations, whether the teams and the leagues and the ESIC and whatever else, need to demand some certain things from Valve going forward, or this is going to happen. It feels like that is where the effort should be put on. The pressure should be put on Valve. While the inter-scene problems are there and they need to be worked out between each people, I totally agree with you. It serves nobody when Flashpoint and like ESL are fighting each other and like Talon's fighting each other. I mean, it's whatever. Me and you have had beef. Beefing is fine. It's all good and fun and whatever. It's going to happen.
I've told
we're
you,
trying to grow the game.
I'll say this as well. Like, Our beef is so fucking dumb and insignificant, and I'm ashamed of the way I behaved because I couldn't resist kicking you when you were at your lowest ebb because of something
Most
you did.
of this beef is dumb. When is any of this beef not
stupid.
dumb? Most of it is stupid and just supposed
totally
to be internet fun. It should be that, but it shouldn't be at the cost of the scene as a whole. So if you have Flashpoint and ESL fighting each other, and then that's going to like fuck up schedules or how teams participate or the money split or, you know, exclusivity or whatever else, then obviously that's going to be detrimental to the scene. However, at a higher level, that is still Valve dictating what is kind of happening. So if Valve isn't going to change as a whole, and they're not going to focus on making the major happen and just figure that shit out, do something, put more money in, if they're not going to figure out how to do DPC without waiting 6 months for Dota, these are things that I think really need to be put more pressure from the scene as a whole instead of infighting.
How do you feel? Right? Like, am I looking at? Have I spent so long in the sewer? I think everything is a turd because,
yes.
Okay, true, but what about this? Right? Like CSPPA, right? So ESL have their league structure and they fuck over a bunch of teams, right? Like, just kick them out from slots they earned. Contracts ripped up. Sorry, we need to restart as a business. They're desperate. They're begging. They think the CSPPA are going to back them. CSPPA not only don't back them, they don't say anything. They sign an agreement with ESL where ESL give money to CSPPA, and then CSPPA publicly come out and say it's the cost of doing business, and that actually ESL's a great league and one of the best that it looks after players. And then I see the CSPPA today hold a strike 5 minutes before a final is meant to start from a competitor they are not in an agreement with.
Seems bad. Seems bad, Richard.
That seems bad, right? Like, am I losing my mind? That's the player organization. They're rolling around esports like a fucking mafia. Like it's like, guys, like, for fuck's sake. I agree with the principle. No organization should be recording players, retaining the recordings, any of that nonsense without having a clear framework for what they do, just for GDPR reasons. Blast has probably done a GDPR violation, actually. Like, you know, but that's where your argument lies. You just tell them, like, okay, you either stop it or we're gonna pursue it through those means. GDPR can fuck them harder than the CSPPA can, but it's like why are they doing this now? Why does it come after the Blast have sort of acquiesced to ESIC and cooperated with an investigation that makes a lot of those founder member players look bad? Why? It's the timing is suspicious. Why didn't you fight against ESL kicking those teams out the league? Why didn't you fight conflict of interest? Why didn't you fight for Jampy being banned from majors? Why are you not fighting Valve? Why are you know, like, why the Blast? Why the Blast? What, like...
Does CSPPA not have official relationships with Blast and Flashpoint? Is it only with MTG?
It's ESL and DreamHack, so obviously they're the MTG companies, and Flashpoint. But here's the madness. Everyone already knows the story. They cost Flashpoint a sponsor through their own ineptitude, which, by the way, the CSPPA went and looked through the small print and went, yeah, we said we would do that, but we actually weren't contractually bound to do it, so fuck you. They cost Flashpoint a monitor sponsor because they promised they would have the players look at the caliber of the monitor. And so Flashpoint said, okay, let us know when we can sign, because we don't want to sign to inferior products and have you wreck us later for it and have the players pull out and refuse. And they didn't, and they didn't, and they didn't. And Flashpoint kept hitting them up and hitting them up. And in the end, the sponsor went, yeah, look, it's getting too close to the event now. Budget problems, COVID, all the excuses. And they pulled out. So, again, the CSPPA, this incredible organization that's doing so much for everybody, actually fucked over a league that was willing to enter into an agreement with it. And let me explain this. While I'm sure the players were all fucking belly laughing, making their tier 1 money, I hope they do realize that that actually doesn't help them at all. I know they're too dumb to realize it now, but it doesn't help them at all that is what their fucking union is doing.
So the union only has tier 1 players, right?
No,
it's not included.
No,
that's
the worst part, Rod. That's the worst part. They pose as being right. The rule is If you make a salary from Counterstrike, you can enter into the CSPPA and they'll represent you. That's what they say. So a bunch of tier 2 teams went in, gave it credibility, were part of it. They've never been asked to vote on anything. They've never been asked their opinions about the way a decision is going. This is common knowledge. It's not just Davey telling me this. I've talked to multiple people. And then, lo and behold, when ESL sat down with CSPPA and said, we're going to have to make some cutbacks, don't worry, even though OG were like 9th to 12th in the qualifier for the Pro League, they're big enough so they get in anyway. Fuck you, Sprout. Fuck you, Harvu. They earned legitimate slots by winning MDL. They got told, you're back to square one. Do you know how destructive that is for a fucking organization? To think you have an ESL Pro League slot, which is worth, at the very least, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but also all that exposure. You're playing against the big boys. Maybe you get a win. Maybe you get a new sponsor. ESL took that away from these teams, took that opportunity away from those players, and because it didn't affect the tier 1 players, they not only said nothing, they co-signed it, and today Chris J's on Twitter going, yeah, but what could we do? You've gone on strike over a fucking TeamSpeak recording, you cunt. What do you mean?
I do agree with you. Out of all the things to strike over, this is what it is. This thing. This is the issue. Have all the issues.
All the issues. All the abuses. All the abuses, the lies, the fucked up contracts, as I said, image rights. Mate, I probably own someone's image rights just by proxy because they're just thrown around like fucking candy on Halloween. Just having image rights. I could probably make a fucking Guardian fucking life-size fucking sex doll and sell it on Amazon tomorrow just because I accidentally was in the right place at the right time. It's fucking insane.
Please do that, by the way.
Oh, mate, that is a bigger issue than this. That is a bigger issue than this. But
okay,
they don't care.
I have a question for you then. Would you rather have a franchised league or leagues? I don't actually know how you do it, considering there's 4 different major TOs right now, well, 3. Would you rather have that? I mean, that's been a talk that's been had a lot of time. I think it's also contributing to why several major organizations are deciding to leave. I mean, you have NRG and 100 Thieves deciding to do like Call of Duty instead of Counter-Strike because
Rod,
there's only a set amount of money that...
No, this isn't even sarcastic. You're a genius. You have reminded me of another component of the great fucking death of Counter-Strike that no one ever talks about, right? And we have to, and it involves Americans. It's a subject close to your heart.
I love them. I love them.
Americans.
We're really
Americans good. And they're fucking
We're the
weak.
best. We are the greatest in the world. Greatest people on earth.
Their fucking weak participation award theory bullshit, right? Where it's like you're so used to your fucking franchise sports, you're so pathetic that you won't risk relegation. You want no skin in the game, but all the financial rewards. And so we end up with these stupid fucking franchise leagues because you go, oh, well, we have to be able to justify an investment. If we spend $3 million on a CS team and we're not in and we can get relegated from a league or we can finish last place, we don't get any return on that. Right. That is not a law. That is not a rule. You can get a return on that. Give me $3 million. I'll buy you a CS team. By the way, $3 million, very conservative. You know, my good friend Henry, I heard a rumor he spent $20 million. Right? That's a lie. That's a joke. People who watch the stream get that one. Right? But, you know, give me $3 million. I'll build you a fucking team, and I'm also savvy enough to monetize it, and I will monetize it. And you know what? We might not make a profit year 1 on our investment. It is $3 million after all. By year 3, we're going to be rolling in clover. You guys don't give a fuck. You know, think about the likes of TSM. They had one of the best teams in the world playing at the Major in 2015. They couldn't even be asked to tweet that the team was playing, and then they go, why are we not making any money on this team? Like, it's always got to be easy for the American team owner. They want to play fucking Moneyball, but without any of the skill or the nuance. They just want to do it all on fucking easy mode. And then they wonder why they get clowned by the fucking Europeans who've been grafting, having to actually do real fucking Moneyball and bring in players and bring in teams. And like, literally, you can finish last place in 5 tournaments, lose sponsors, lose your money, lose your shirt off your back. back, have to remortgage your house to keep the lights on. Real stakes. And not all NA owners are like that, because Jason Lake went to the fucking precipice. He went to the brink. He nearly lost everything to keep complexity going. And that's why I'll always fuck with Jason. These new school venture capitalist arseholes who burn 20 million and then go, can we have another raise? And the VC group goes, yeah, you can have another 20 million. And then they go, okay, can we have a third raise? Yeah, have another 20 million. That's now 60 million you've just thrown into a pit of bad ideas. Like when fucking Infinite took over Optic, and this isn't Hex's fault, why don't we sign an Indian Counterstrike team? Perfect.
That went very well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? Do you want to vet and see if he's a cheater first? People don't even know this, by the way, guys, because I'm just dropping all of the fucking dimes today because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the business, sick of it all. Do you want to know how ridiculous the fact they couldn't tell Forsaken was a cheater was? He rocked up to after having destroyed everyone online, and this is no joke now, they measured it statistically. He had the same reaction time as like Device and Simple. He had higher first frag, like as in when he saw someone on his screen, he won the encounter like something like 44% times. It was like he was the #1 player in the world statistically, and he got to their boot camp and he brought a laptop with him, and they said, well, don't you want to play on this amazing shit hot like computer we've bought you? And he said, no, I'm used to a laptop. This motherfucker was doming everyone with like 30 FPS, and you can't fucking figure out he's cheating. How are you running a fucking esports team? It's embarrassing, the level of incompetence.
But dude, he had WordPad to help him out. Yeah, what are you talking about?
He certainly did. So this is.
By the way, I just want to clarify. I've been watching Americans lose in Counter-Strike and esports way before franchising. Okay, Richard, we have been perpetual losers for 20 years. We have not needed franchising to lose. Okay, we've been losing as a sport. That is what we do here in NA.
Yeah,
I want to clarify,
mate,
okay?
I just watched the Jets do something that should probably see them in fucking prison, in my opinion. And I don't care that the Raiders won. But if you're telling me the Jets aren't deliberately tanking, like, you're out of your fucking mind. What they did against us was criminal.
That was tactical, Richard, okay?
Yeah.
That was a tactical defense, all right? I thought the blitz on Hail Mary, that's what you do.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like
that's how you play football, bro.
People do it all the time, don't they? It's one of the maddest things. And it's what I mean. It's like these guys are bringing in, like, American fucking sports attitudes to, like, esports, and they want it all their own way. Now, I like Andy Miller, and obviously I love Hex. He's a good friend. And I really like Andy Miller, but I'll just say this attitude where it's like, well, if we don't know how to monetize it and it's not put on easy mode for us, we don't want to support it. That's piss weak. That there has to be a risk. That's what sports is. That's what we do in Europe. That's how we do it in all our big leagues.
Sure, Richard. But if you want to talk about, I think like the other stuff isn't as big of an issue. This is a real issue. Like Chaos deserves to be picked up by an org for how they're performing and considering they're like an all-American team besides Marquee.
The Chaos org shouldn't be cutting that roster at all, because Chaos should be confident enough to figure out how to make some fucking scratch from what they do.
I agree with you, but these are not good signs. And these orgs there's like 30 esports games now, Richard, and there's only a finite amount of money, and they have to choose which game they think is going to help them the most. And I'm not saying they make right decisions. They're not making correct decisions all the time, obviously, but Counter-Strike has enough issues for the team owners, and I totally believe you. The franchising bullshit is ridiculous. They shouldn't have to rely on not being relegated. But, you know, a lot of them are looking at this from a monetary standpoint, and as much as we can fucking hate on Activision Blizzard for all their bullshit, like Call of Duty is in like an okay spot, so it's not like totally out of the ordinary that like NRG and 100 Thieves are going to put their money towards Call of Duty, and then to a lesser extent Valorant, than they are against Counter-Strike, just because of what the scene is.
What's wrong with this picture?
That feels like something needs to be addressed.
What's wrong with this
They need to be incentivized to invest.
What's wrong with this picture where an organization like Chaos can be tweeting every fucking day about how they got Pusha T and fucking Logic investing in them, and then they can't keep their most successful team who's just won a DreamHack because they can't afford it? this is some smoke and mirrors shit. I'm not even calling out the Chaos guys. I think they've been put in a mad position. You know, it's like, but what it also does is it's the optics. You know this from the StarCraft days. It's like chicken little, sorry. Once someone says the sky is falling, people get on board with it. Everyone starts running around. Happened in StarCraft that we memed a dead game into reality. It wasn't a dead game when we were calling it a dead game, and then it fucking was a dead game. And I mean fully fucking dead, like a fucking game of Cluedo dead. It was dead, right? DED. Dead. And we're doing that with fucking CS in NA. There's still opportunities there. There's still all sorts of shit you can do, right? But like, people are just panicking and pulling out and fucking saying, like, do you think your Valorant team is going to be cheaper at the end of 1 year in NA? The way things are going with everyone inflating the salaries and the price, do you think your Valorant team is cheaper at the end of 1 year than this CS team that's already winning at the end of this year? No, mate. No. No chance. No chance. I'll call it now. I've heard some of these salaries these cunts are getting. I'm talking bums. I'm talking people who cried like little bitches because they could never get out of groups, even in NA competitions, right? And they're over there in Valorant making fucking crazy money. Money they would never have seen in CS. And it's only going to go up because here come the morons. Here come the morons. Don't worry, we've got a successful influencer. So you guys and Riot are definitely going to do a franchise league and definitely pander to us and definitely involve us. So, hey, have 20 grand, have 30 grand. Do we you again? Oh, you were half decent in Overwatch? Sound, over you come. Clearly not talking about Sinatra. He was an MVP. You know, what is going on? Like, what is going on? Like, how can obviously how can these orgs not see the writing on the wall? Like, leaving CS is a fool's errand.
Yeah, but they definitely are looking towards like the future franchising, which is actually ironic considering like half the teams that invested in Overwatch before Overwatch League started got cut from the final decision making for Overwatch League. So I don't know why they'd invest a bunch of money when Riot could still actually deny them after them investing everything. You are right. Counterstrike is the better investment. And this is actually why I said that I didn't think things were going terribly. I mean, Counterstrike is still getting like record-breaking viewers during COVID with like over 500,000 concurrent. Valve finally fucking released an operation. I think it just hit its like peak concurrent players in a long time, over a few months. So the game is still doing relatively okay. And to me, that is by far the most important thing. Overwatch League, full-on produced franchise league, 20 teams, fucking $300 million invested, all these players being signed. But the game is in a totally fucked up state, and that has caused more issues than anything that Overwatch League could do. So as long as Counter-Strike, as the game, is doing okay in players, and it seems to be doing okay, Valve did a pretty solid job with the operation, then everything else isn't as bad. That's kind of how I.
Do you know how bad a year it's going to be for esports if everyone in 2021 as well accepts that the Overwatch League is a failed project and they're going to pack up their shit and start making their exit strategy?
But the viewership is still
CS
pretty
will be
good,
dead
though.
in NA, and I admit, Riot Games are going to be rubbing their hands. You know, it's like being a heavyweight boxer, right? And you get the belt because every other cunt in the division dies of a heart attack. That's what Valorant's going to be. It doesn't even need to succeed. It just has to survive because everyone else is going to fail because everyone is a bunch of incompetent, uninvolved fucking idiots.
Okay. Wait. Esports is still doing okay. Yeah, there's a larger problem of like Twitch culture overtaking it, but like Rocket League is hitting more viewers than ever. League is still doing great. Call of Duty's doing really well. I mean, Counter-Strike with Liquid MEG.
Rocket League Esports, Psyonix. Oh, don't even start me.
But the game is okay. The major point is...
We are talking about casual things. You are not talking about esports as I understand it. You know, the game doing well and
together. The esports cannot succeed if the game doesn't do well. The esports is going to fucking die if the game is dead. If the game is dead, the esports does not exist. If the game is doing well, then the esports stuff follows. So, the Counter-Strike stuff...
No, it doesn't always work like that. You know, and let me explain
always,
here.
But...
Right, well, in fact, no, but in recent times, it doesn't work like that for anything. Right? PUBG essentially was the last roll of the dice that failed, that killed OGN. How can you, at one point, by the way, have 3.3 million peak players on Steam. That's peak concurrent players. That isn't obviously total players. So it would have to be an insane amount. How do you piss that away? And then when it comes to your premier, highly polished, highly produced esports broadcast, you are literally using embeds and still getting 8,000 viewers. How?
I mean, Richard,
I worked on that show.
A certain video game came out after PUBG that kind of changed a little bit of the course of history.
What, we talking about Apex?
No, motherfucking Fortnite, Richard. Okay, and Fortnite fucked over
where's that
PUBG.
Now? Dude,
look, Epic has their own problems, but it's doing all right. It's
don't even get me started on fucking Fortnite. Like, what are they doing? What happened to that? What is it? They said they were going to drop 100 million in the scene and have structured leagues and tournaments, and like we've had a couple of World Cups.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
Nate, down. They care more about sticking.
Over there.
Let's have Kratos do the fucking Chica dance or whatever the fuck. Let's do that fucking absolute abomination. That's what they give a fuck about. They have
they have the Valve approach. They have we're just going to put Galactus in here and get 35 million people to watch, and then have Travis Scott. And then we'll fucking dick on the esports scene because the video game itself is doing so well. As shitty as this is, if the developers focus on the game and Fortnite and Counterstrike still do relatively well in their player bases, the esport, I still think, will always succeed. The biggest problem for esports is when the game dies, like StarCraft 2 or Overwatch. And then that significantly hurts the esports no matter what the infrastructure is around the game.
I think that isn't the case anymore. I think this is like me and you applying our boomer mentality if we hold on to that belief, because time and time again it's being proven different. We're seeing hugely popular
why though,
games,
dude? If you
like
have
Apex, like Fortnite, like PUBG, what else happened recently?
VR sucks as an esport though. You know this. VR is this really shitty experience for esport.
So forget VR.
Valorant's doing really well. Valorant's doing well. Is Valorant not doing well?
It's had its first major tournament and had okay viewership, but actually if you look at certain channels across the board, sort of universally on Twitch, the viewership has sort of stagnated a little bit. I mean, most analysts in esports kind of accept that, and it's like it's going to need something a bit more interesting.
It's only NA versus NA and EU versus EU. Yeah, everything is online. I mean, I think...
Another issue of having everything fucking regionalized. Listen, Activision Blizzard, regional esports is bad.
What do you want to do, though? But we can't do shit because of the fucking pandemic. I mean, Counter-Strike, I actually still think is going to do pretty well because you have Liquid and EG and Cloud9 in Europe. They get to play on LAN. That helps the Counter-Strike.
They are this close. They are this close, Rod.
PC now, you think?
Yeah, of course. I've already heard the rumors the EG are done. That's going around. I don't buy it. It's the usual fucking mouth breathers that love to fucking tell me inside information like I don't fucking...
I mean, they just spent all that money to buy that team. It feels like they wouldn't just peace out that quickly. But yes, Valorant is making things very difficult. However, with those orgs in CS right now in Europe, that is going to get more viewership than Valorant will. And I do think that is a good reason why teams should continue to invest in Counter-Strike over Valorant. But I still think Counter-Strike is doing pretty well for viewership-wise. If the viewership is supposed to indicate the interest in the esport, I think it's still pretty solid. It's just all the other problems.
It's a house of cards. How many more scandals do you think Counter-Strike can live through before that viewership goes away? How many more match-fixing scandals can it go through, even if it's just tier 2? How many more weird, fucked up battles between TOs and players? How many more outrageous backstabbing bullshit fucking roster moves? How much more money grabbing can it live through before the fans tap the fuck out? Like, what does the next major look like? If one even happens in 2021, we don't know what's gonna happen yet.
I truly think Riot's attention to Valorant and their promotion and marketing of the game and just Valorant as competition is a bigger threat than all the shit you just mentioned. I actually think fans don't really give a shit about...
No, this is where you're wrong, and I see everyone in the chat typing it because I've actually brought the chat window up just in time for them to say silly things. So listen, let me explain to you why the average fan does care, right? And even whether they know it or not. Because if you start explaining to the fans these games actually don't matter, it is a contrivance, you may as well be watching wrestling, they will go away. They will lose their excitement.
3 players in fucking Australia that they were match fixing. Does anyone in the larger scale really think that that's going to like hurt Counter-Strike overall?
No. Forget that. It's not just match fixing, mate. Right? I've got a coach who has a fucking warlock communicating with players in a game in real fucking time.
Obviously, this is bad. Yes.
Right?
No shit. Okay. Yeah. That the fucking coaching thing with the camera, not good.
I've got the entire Tier 1 Counter-Strike teams thinking that not only is it okay to stream snipe, when of course everyone who plays online games knows that it isn't, but also doing it on camera in the biggest tournament, and the governing body turning around and going, lol, we can't ban you all or the scene dies, and they go, yeah, that's right. What's going to be next?
How? Okay, I have a question for you.
Counter-Strike, it's already meaningless.
Richard, how is it just the CS pros that are doing stream sniping? If this was a large-scale thing, I would think every single major esport in the world would all have major stream sniping problems.
They probably do. The difference is CS players in their infinite fucking hubris are dumb enough to do it on fucking camera week in and week out. That's the difference. You know, in Valorant,
true.
Shit, did you see that fucking tweet from fucking Steel? Love him, love Josh, right? But he did say that Riot Games have said, like, oh, we can't have our, like, coaches and stuff in the room with us. You know what? Probably not the worst idea Riot are ever going to fucking come up with. More people in a room, more people looking at the screen, more people maybe spitting out information you shouldn't have access to, more people breaking the rules, harder job to govern for an esports organization that wants to preserve integrity. Maybe all them motherfuckers shouldn't be in the room, honestly, because every time we have people in the room in Counter-Strike, they're all cheating. They're all screen watching, ghosting, fucking, you know, guys, I'm floating above you and can see where everyone is. Maybe I should tell the developer about this. Or maybe I'll hide it for 4 fucking years and use it to win games. I don't know if you saw what happened in, like, the CIS region. Teams have literally gone to tournaments. I think. Yeah, teams have gone to tournaments and been eliminated multiple times by the same team, and we found out they're cheating, and those players have been cut from the roster. Professional career's over because people cheated. I am telling you, I know everyone's listening going, fans don't care, they just want to see the fireworks. Eventually, this is going to wear people down. Eventually, when people realize everybody is fucking up to something wrong in the scene, you lose faith in it. It's like baseball. People are moving away from baseball in fucking droves. Steroids, sign stealing, people recording practices, 168 fucking games or whatever it is in a season. We're baseball now. That's what Counter-Strike is. We're on steroids. We're doing literal sign stealing, and the same teams are playing each other every fucking week in, week out, because we're fucking region locked. I don't want CS to be baseball. It cannot survive as baseball. Baseball can barely survive as baseball.
It's doing all right. It's doing okay. It's still here. It'll be here in 50 years. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? Counter-Strike, we want it to still be here. The longevity is good for baseball. I actually think that baseball, you are totally right, the sign stealing, all the cheating, the steroids contributed. But I think, like, larger issues, like it being fucking boring, it being 4 hours long, and there being 162 games, are probably bigger issues. That, and they're not letting, like, the online media portion excel, seem to be bigger issues than the competitive integrity. Although, of course,
can leverage your boomer knowledge to contradict yourself. So let's do an exercise. What killed
the World Series actually had pretty good ratings. You know,
fuck baseball. I'm British. What killed Brood War?
Savior, my boy, my boy, Savior.
There you go. And what did Savior do?
Took a little money on the side. Good, great Zerg player, but needed a little bit extra, you know?
Right. And how did Blizzard react to it?
I can't quite remember. Don't think it was anything, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, did nothing about it, let it slide, and then You know what I know you know this part. They came into South Korea, and because the fans were so disillusioned with Brood War and all of the cheating and the fact that they'd lost all of their heroes and idols and they couldn't look up to them no more because they were cheating constantly, and it was all a fake contrivance, just like wrestling. It was all rigged for people's private gain. Instead of Activision Blizzard sort of like doing something to kind of like resurrect the scene, or like, you know, Brood War's an amazing game, we've done so much, they basically told Kesper, listen, none of the fans support Brood War anymore. They're super pissed off with it. You support StarCraft 2 now. We're going to use this death of a game, something that should have been a tragedy, because Activision Blizzard only cares about money. And they said, now we're going to use this to promote our game. Hey, listen, fresh game, fresh start, no cheaters here. Woo! And it was the only time they've ever been able to kind of manipulate Kesper in its entirety and get them on board. And that's what they did. That is what they fucking did. Right? Now, you tell me, is CS in the world bigger than Brood War was in Korea? Because if cheating can kill Brood War in Korea, it can kill CS. I'm telling you.
That was much bigger, I would think. I mean, that's kind of equal to iBuyPower. If CS survived iBuyPower, which I would say is equal to the Savior incident, if you want to try to terms of equality, then I would think of CS is doing okay. I mean, by what you're saying is true, then shouldn't have CS died right when the iBuyPower stuff happened?
No, because right. So this is the issue. There's always been that fucking safety net. There's always been the safety net. We got through the skins, right? We got through the skins betting era. We got through the kiddie casinos era. We got through all the fucking scavengers from Call of Duty. We got through the vacaning, right? We got through all of this in quick and rapid succession. You know why? Because it was like a mad exciting time. Views were going up. We were breaking a record every week. More and more TOs were coming into the space. There was plenty of room in the sandpit for everyone to play. So it was okay. It didn't matter. We're past that. We've peaked. You know, if we want to sustain and exist, now is the time to figure out. No esports lasts as long as this. We've already done 8 years. We've already broke the records. We have got to figure out a way to coexist and drive the negative forces out, and we need to do it as a collective, and we're not doing that. We're fucking people who used to be talent working with unions, arguing with other talent when the unions fuck them over, can't understand their perspective. TO's fucking over broadcast talent wanting to leave and go and work for orgs having no money. Valve might take coaches away because all the coaches are cheating. ESIC has about 4 people in a fucking Daxon called Colin doing the investigations. Everyone thinks they're spies for ESL. ESL are just like the fucking evil fucking overlords wanting to rule the scene, and will just somehow, like cockroaches, outlive the nuclear bomb. And Valve are on a fucking holiday in Hawaii thinking about the next Dota character because they don't give a fuck about us. None of this bodes well, man. Like, I don't know how else I can lay the cards on the table.
I hear what you're saying. You know, by the way, I think what you said about StarCraft is true. However, I still think StarCraft 2 as a game was the biggest detriment to StarCraft succeeding in Korea, more than the cheating scandal, more than the match fixing. StarCraft 2 not being as appealing to play as Brood War really hurt things, along with things like it not being available in PC cafes like Brood War was. Like, those are, to me, were much bigger for the success and failure of StarCraft 2 in Korea than all the cheating match fixing stuff or Blizzard's interaction with Kespa. While everything you said was correct. So for Counterstrike, it's like, for me, it's like, you know, are Valve working on Source 2 Counterstrike? Like, that to me is like a much bigger topic of what are they doing than almost, I don't think it's true, probably. Bro. I think probably not. Bro. But, you know, how Valve develops the game needs to be considered as much as all of the esports ecosystem stuff, because at the end of the day, they control the fucking video game. So if they continue to update the game and bring features to the game, that'll keep the game alive, and then that will, you know, help everybody else.
Let me tell you a story.
Ignores the game, then.
Let me tell you a wonderful story, because I know you were around, but you weren't around. So, but I was. So there was this game called 1.6. was pretty popular.
Bro, you were the Source dude, motherfucking. I'm around. You weren't around, dude. You were from Cadre, fucking defending Source.
That's where I'm going with it. That's where I'm going with it. You fucking lunatic.
I remember
Simmer
this.
Down.
Okay.
Simmer down. Take your fucking ES
we were in
reality
CGS
fucking
together.
ball and
we were in CGS chilling.
Right? Yeah, I know. You took the brown envelope. I didn't. Just kidding. Or did you? Who knows?
Yeah, I did. What are you talking about? I took it and then shit on CGS every day at Game Riot, or I didn't even do anything. What do you mean?
Right. So anyway, just simmer down, Quakehead. Right.
It's only $500, by the way.
Yeah. So here's what happened. Right. 1.6 was, it was shit in 2004. It was sort of done and kind of outdated by then, just in terms of graphical fidelity and how it looked. And obviously, we knew they were developing a new Source engine. Or the Source engine. We knew they were developing a new engine over in Valve, and we knew they were gonna bring Half-Life 2 out. And we knew, like, it had been rumored for a while at the time, that obviously we were gonna get like the original mod that they did it, like, with the Half-Life mod. Once that got packaged with the original Half-Life, after they brought the mod across from the old game Kingpin, if anyone fucking remembers that. So anyway, right, when Source came out, everyone in the esports scene was like, this is it, it's the new game. It's going to save everything. 1.6 was getting a bit tired and a bit stale. And then you had to play it. It was released into LAN cafes in September 2004, if memory serves me correct. And then it was on general release at the start of 2005. And we had mad things happen. Like the World Cyber Games had a fucking tournament where the qualifiers were on 1.6 and the finals were played on Source.
I think 3D won that.
Yes, it was. It was 3D against K23 with a 17-year-old Adren from Kazakhstan. Yeah. Anyway, that's not the memory lane part I'm doing. So, Source was so bad, so broken, the fact that we adopted it and said, it's going to save everything. It's going to rejuvenate 1.6, and we pushed it out way too quick. That made all of those 1.6s literally, and that experience at WCG Singapore in particular, that made them all say, I'm never touching that game again. And it took Valve 2 years, like I want to say 18 months minimum, to even get it playable and iron out day release bugs that the game had. And if you also remember, without ZBlock, which was a third-party plugin made by some dude on the internet called Jedi, with a 3 instead of an E, if he hadn't made ZBlock, there was no competitive Source. It was so broken and so bust. Now, why do you think Source 2 is going to be any different to that? Because let me tell you, Valve's track record with brand new engines being launched, not fucking great from what I remember.
I mean, no, I have no expectations. I mean, CSGO at launch was a fucking dumpster fire. I played it at IEM New York. I think they tested it out in beta, and it was fucking awful. And then it took them almost 2.5 years to make CSGO any good. CSGO was pretty much dead for between 2012
they leased it out to that Hidden Path company, and it was so bad, they had to bring it back. That wasn't the plan. And also, if you care about your IP, find me another developer that cares about their IP so much that they'll just be like, hey, you fucking do this now. Mate.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't have any faith that they're going to do any better of a job with a Source 2 Counterstrike than they did with CSGO or with CS Source. However, that's still like an indication that they are putting focus and effort and development cycle into Counterstrike, which is still the most important thing. Especially with a Valve, with a company where you can go work on whatever you want and you can go do whatever you want. The more people that are voluntarily, I can't have to fucking say that, working on the game that's making hundreds of millions of dollars for them, that is better for the game. The bigger thing is, how are people volunteering what to work on there? Counter-Strike needs continual dedicated teams, and probably they need a fucking community manager by now. Valve, if there is anything the entire community should do, it is pressure Valve to hire someone.
These developers, mate. And that's why I said don't even get me started on Psionics. Do you remember? We've hired Nate Nanzer, the mastermind behind the Overwatch League. He's going to be working on our Rocket League esports product and maybe even the Fortnite product. You know how long he had that job as like fucking esports commissioner over there? It was about 3 months. I don't even know what he does now. I think he's on sales or something. That's another story for another time, I guess. Developers are fucking idiots. They only know one thing, And that is how to make a game. And you go, but Richard, that's super important. You'll notice I didn't say make a successful game, make a good game. They know how to work their employees to the brink of death to hit a target for their fucking shareholders. That's all these people do. And if they don't have shareholders, very often they just don't even make any games or make any end product unless they can be asked to do it themselves. And then, you know, they then think, by virtue of it being popular, the only reason any of these developers even know what esports is because it's a marketing tool, right? And here's why it's a marketing tool. If a game's competitive, it gets lots of eyeballs on all the streaming platforms now, but it also encourages people to play it and to invest time in it. And it's very hard to walk away from a game when you have spent 3,000 hours trying to master it and climb a ladder and maybe even have been in a professional team or been in competitions or whatever. It gives a game artificial life, and that is why games developers love it. But they don't love it enough to understand it, and they don't love it enough to respect it. That's how they feel about esports, and this is how we end up with the same fucking thing over and over again. That's how we end up with Heroes of the Storm. Like, let's come to the party late on a MOBA, lads. No, you probably shouldn't do that, Activision Blizzard. No, but it'll be our IP. No, everyone's really invested in Dota and League of Legends now. You've definitely missed the boat. I think you're wrong, Richard. And who suffers 3 years down the road for their mistake? All the people who believed their lies and invested into the game. No, it's going to be successful. Listen to us for Activision Blizzard. We'll totally support it indefinitely. It got to a stage in Heroes of the Storm where Activision Blizzard disgustingly were telling journalists to keep it under their hat that they were going to pull the plug on the scene, but they didn't tell organizations or players or casters for their official broadcasts that they didn't have a future. So journalists knew it was coming, but the people who needed to make decisions about whether to renew a housing contract or whether to sign a contract or whether to pick up a team, they didn't tell them. And that's a fact, and that's out there. So that's what you end up with if you let developers fucking, seduce you with their knowledge of esports. So yeah, Valve should have a community manager, a commissioner, and more. But let's be honest, for a games developer to hire those people, that requires a games developer to have a little bit of self-awareness and maybe admit they're not the smartest motherfucker in the room, and none of these Silicon Valley fucking jerk-offs can actually manage that. That's why they spend all day not making games, fucking up the games they have made, and tweeting about why Trump is Orange Hitler all day. They think they're better than what they are. They're not. They can't even do the one thing they're meant to do properly.
What about Danger Zone Esports? That could save Counterstrike, right?
What about her? Danger Zone.
Danger Zone Esports? Yeah, I think that's the way forward. I mean, yeah, everything you're saying is right, but unlike in sports, the developers own the IPs. So if we don't have the full support and backing from the publisher and developer, the esport can't. I mean, it's really a miracle how far CS and Dota has gone without more of a backing support, especially Counter-Strike. Forget Dota. Counter-Strike has thrived for so long without Valve really doing a whole lot. It is really incredible to see the longevity. Yeah. But I think we are at really a crossroads with all the things going on. I mean, if you were to go with suggestions, I still think pressuring Valve to do more is got to be at the top of the list. I mean, are there things that you would like to see? I mean, of all the things that we talked about.
Do you know what has to, right? So here's what has to happen. Right. Valve has to say for once that, right, here's why Valve don't do this. Valve think that they are the mad scientists of the world staring into the petri dish that is gaming and esports culture, and they like to stand back and watch what fungus and mildew and spores and life grows while they poke it with stimuli. This is a company that literally, while we were in Source, and many people probably don't remember this either, but I'm a fucking old man, right, that we woke up one day in competitive Source to find something called dynamic weapon pricing had been implemented without anything. And it was basically, they applied, so here's how dynamic weapon pricing worked for the Zoomers. It was basically a stock market that made the price of the most popular weapons go up and up to 16k, and the weapons no one bought go down and down. So you ended up with insane situations where a Deagle was 16k because Source Deagle was broken, right? And you could buy a fucking SMG and a shotgun on the pistol round, right? So that's how little Valve cared about Counterstrike and the format that we had lovingly crafted. And do you know how we fit? And you couldn't turn it off. It was rolled out as was. You had to deal with it. The leagues, ESL, people like me at Cadred, we all had to come together and tell Valve, like, you've got to at least put a C-bar in so we can turn it off. And it took a bit of wrangling. We had to play some tournaments on all the patches and everything else. It was a nightmare. And then Valve said, yeah, all right, then here's a C-bar for it, like CL_ dynamic weapon pricing 1 or 0. But they didn't even think to have it so you could remove. So they completely they were willing to destroy the competitive scene. Do you know why? Good data. I had a rumor that they eventually sold that algorithm, that stock engine, to another games developer. Not EVE Online, but something like that. Right? That's Valve. That's what they care about. So the first thing you need to have change is you need to change the culture at Valve and make them care about CS Esports. I do not know what that will take. I do not know how many lives sort of have to crash up against the wall of their indifference, and all these terrible things have to happen, which actually affects them if you just think about it for 5 minutes. I don't know how many more times it can happen. I don't know how many more scandals, how much more CS has to be dragged through the dirt, how many more people have to make money by devaluing their game. I don't know how often it has to happen before they say, actually, we should probably run this, because they're real quick to get involved when they don't like something. They're real quick to get involved if someone has the temerity to stream game footage from their in-game client when one of their fucking, business partners running a major has decided that suddenly they're the IP holders for a game. A complete ridiculous contrivance that doesn't exist. So I don't know how you make them care. If they do care, here's what you need to do. You need to do what people over in Dota have been crying out for. They don't even have a DMC code of conduct. They don't have a Dota circuit code of conduct. They've been crying out for it for ages. Nahaz, all of the talent, they're like, please, like. And what you end up with mad situations where it's like, it's okay for this player who said something racist to go, but not to a major in China, but not this player Cuckoo because he said something unpalatable about the Chinese. So you end up, you don't even have a code of conduct for the game you claim to care about the most. So what are we going to get at CS? You need a commissioner. You need a community manager, not the person who runs the Twitter who's like just posting memes to other meme accounts all day and ignoring people breaking like massive stories about their game. Right? So you need that. Then you need somebody who's going to and then you need to have a circuit. You need to agree the way you stop all the operators in the space fighting with each other and trying to like destroy the other one, which doesn't help CS at all, because believe it or not, competition's actually a good thing. Esports wouldn't exist without the competition that we've, pushing each other to get better. So you then say, right, ESL, you have this tournament this week. DreamHack, you have this tournament this week. Face it, you get a tournament here. This is the Flashpoint League. They're going to be the league in the middle. That's going to decide who goes into this special major tournament over here. ESL has the Pro League over here. They need to share it out and create a circuit. And yes, some TOs are going to lose out and have less market share. You'll make it work. Trust me. You'll be fine.
It's one of the biggest problems, by the way, Richard, is that none of the TOs want less market share. ESL, like MTG's entire company, both ESL and DreamHack, is like based on Counterstrike. They do other games, and DreamHack's main business is still the LAN stuff.
DreamHack needs to die. DreamHack needs to die. Like, MTG need to shit or get off the pot and basically go all in on ESL. I know they've done a merger. DreamHack is a brand that's fucking so devalued in CS anyway. It has, like, so little value. It's just occupying space. It's just employing cunts. It's just employing cunts like incompetent cunts and running substandard tournaments with no top teams there because no one wants to go to a DreamHack. It's also still, like, staying proud of this idea. Yep, company on Sherpin, 3 hours on a night bus to fucking Bible Belt, Sweden. Fuck that. We've grown past that. Have a LAN there. Have fucking that cunt who comes. Have Darude turn up. Whatever. Do that, right? Wicked. Great for you. No more tournaments there, please. So yeah, DreamHack needs to fucking die. It's a relic of a fucking bygone era.
But these brands, the ESL brand, Blast and Flashpoint and Blast, all they do is Counter-Strike. And so much of ESL's core business, I'm sure the Intel, $100 million sponsorship, whatever the fuck they got a year or two ago, much of that was probably predicated on Counterstrike deals and how much traffic and stuff they're getting from Counterstrike. So of course these guys don't want to lose market share. Like each of them are competing because this is. If I give
you a choice, play nice in the sand. Right, we let you have the sandpit. We let you play in the sandpit, and all you do is you pick up your fucking stickle bricks and you pick up your Tonka truck and you keep doming the other kids. And so now I'm here and I'm supervising. And that's what Valve needs to do now. I don't give a fuck about your data, Valve. These are people's lives. This matters to me and it matters to fucking millions of people. You can't just sit back and go, fucking hell, ESL's going to destroy the scene. Fucking hell, CSPPA is popping off this week. You have to get involved. And so what you do is you come and you say, listen, I said that we were going to let you do it all by yourself, but we can't do that anymore. You've proven time and time again you can't play nice. So this is your choice. You now have less of the market share because you tried to have it all, you got greedy, or you have none of it, and we just won't work with you anymore. And if ESL, you're telling me for CS, their fucking flagship game, VSL turn around and go, right then, Valve, we'll have none of it then. Nah, never happen. So Valve can come in and fix that problem anytime they want. And they just don't want to because, it gives them a white paper. Fuck that. Fuck that, man. Like, this is... How many players' lives have to be fucked over? How many broadcast talents have to get frozen out of the fucking scene? How many fucking people who work on air broadcasts are being told, listen, we're the biggest show in town and we're 80% of the calendar, so you better be willing to commit to 16 weeks living in fucking Malta, away from your family? No. Valve are saying your life is meaningless within the context of what they want to find out. Like, that's bollocks. They don't even let you have a fucking sticker in the game in CS.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. All that's ridiculous. Is Ido still the figurative lead of the game right now?
I don't even know, mate. They haven't talked to me in ages. I've sent over
I feel like that's a bigger problem
cheat,
too.
Everything. I don't even get emails saying thanks for this anymore. They're just so tapped out.
At least for Blizzard, I can rage at Jeff Kaplan every fucking time because I know at the end of the day it's his responsibility. I don't want to put it at lower level social media people. I don't even want to put it at lower level developers. I want to put all my anger and hatred and problems with the fucking game directly at Jeff Kaplan. And that's why I consistently call him out on a name basis, because I don't even think saying Blizzard sometimes is accurate. It's better to just go straight at the head. And if Ido Magal is still, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, is still project lead of Counterstrike, people should be going after him. It's his responsibility. I know it's different in Valve. You get to work whatever you want. But Dota has a clear hierarchy. IceFrog is running that shit. Gaben is backing it. And Eric Johnson, which is one of the other high-level senior people at Valve, that is his fucking game. Dota is Eric Johnson's responsibility.
I think Edo and Brian are the only two left that even vaguely give a fuck about CS. I don't think going after them's the answer. They've always struck me as being the people that actually read Reddit and pay attention from time to time. The problem is
their responsibility for bringing more people on the project, though. If that's how Valve is going to work as a company, then they need to do better at recruiting other people within that company to work on Counter-Strike.
Well, I agree, but it's this flat structure that they have. It's this flat structure. Again, this is what I mean. It's a cultural issue. It's like they only rarely hire people because it's basically the golden ticket. If you can hack working in an environment where fucking, up is down and down is up, and it's like no other job you've ever worked at, and you've got to fight tooth and nail just to ask if you can borrow a recorder to work on your game because some other cunt on another game wants him, and then it turns out none of the games are going to get released, and it was all a fucking waste of time and some strange alpha dog circle jerk exercise. If you can cope working in an environment like that, great. Wonderful. But most people can't actually, and they only rarely recruit anyway for that reason, because most people end up crapping out after a year or two. That's how they do it. So again, it's this fucked up culture. Nobody wants to say maybe we should be paying more attention to CSGO in a world where the guy who really does hold all the power. They say, Gabe said it many times himself, I'm not anyone's boss. Grow up, for fuck's sake. You may as well tell me the fucking Tooth Fairy's real at this point. Everyone knows who's in charge of Valve. And Gabe is literally like in his spare time is one of the wealthiest men in the world, fucking replying to fans like out of the blue, going, "Yeah, I'm actually enjoying playing Weaver at the moment. It's just all he does is play Dota mid, and that's all he's got to do. Fair enough, he's earned that right, you know. But like between that and Steam, CSGO can't get a look in. Why would you come in as a new guy and commit to being the CSGO guy, knowing what it's like over there? You wouldn't.
Yeah, no, it's true. Your performance reviews go down. You probably wouldn't make as much money. Like as an employee, it's a bad decision to work on Counterstrike.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix that. Seems like a bigger issue than even like addressing the interpolitics of the esports community. Because if you don't have an alignment from Valve, then they can't do the overarching issues, which is what you suggest, and get all the leagues to go into a circuit with times and schedules, and everyone can get their share, and then we can get the money lined up. And I bet if all that happened, you would have the orgs come back too. If there was a more structured system, I am sure a bunch of the esports orgs would then choose to invest more in these teams.
There was a rumor going around, I want to say 18 months ago. I'm sure you heard it because you're like me and you fucking traffic in the dark arts. Did you remember hearing about that franchise league all the orgs were fucking talking about?
Well, you had the PEA from that was like a few years ago.
No, but after that, there was like another one, and it was like Valve's official CSGO franchise league was coming. I told him, I said, mate, you must think I was born fucking yesterday. Zero chance. And other people were tweeting about it, and everyone wanted the clout, right? And going, oh, I know, I have definitely heard this from credible sources. Do you know what it was? You know what I'm convinced now that it was? It was these esports organizations, these lazy, feeble, weak NA fucking team owners, basically trying to see if Valve would bite at the hook if it was dangled. And they didn't. So what does that tell you?
It's the NA team owner. The NA, Jack, Andy, Steve, those three have been kind of controlling everything in NA esports for like a while now. Now I guess you have out now. In there. Yeah, it is
more power brokers now.
Yeah, but those are the names that are probably facilitated that. They were on board with PEA years ago too, along with Noah. Like they tried really hard to make that franchise league happen because they want to make more money because they see, you know, franchising as the future. And right now there's more NA team owners than there are European owners. And I'm sure you have people like Carlos that are probably all in on franchising. I mean, I actually don't really know his personal opinion, but it just seems like he gels pretty well with the NA owners. So if you go between the relegation system and the franchise system, most of the powerful team owners right now are on board with ditching this like third-party organization structure, or they're trying to play this power politics with all the TOs, and that is, you know, contributing to a lot of the problems there.
It's just, you know, so fucking crazy. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm just done. I'm just so fucking tired of it all. So tired of every day waking up and you think, is something going to happen for CS? Releasing a new operation in esports.
But it helps though. The player count goes up. I mean, it was a pretty good operation. There's some cool features. Retake stuff was good. I still think any updates and developments to the game is really good for esports. I know they're not the same thing, but it keeps people playing the game, and that's still of the utmost importance for the game living on.
What if you graduate through the ranks of being an esports fan and become a hardcore fan, and you get into the esports side of things? Like, what are you then going to be exposed to? A scene of just sort of endless like power plays, like where it's like just like you say, it's like a game of Jenga, and people are just fucking poking the bricks constantly and going as hard as can. You know, you might not have a Flashpoint tomorrow. Now you might not have a Blast. Now Blast already had to beg for money. You know, Blast already had to cut prize money. Now we got the CSPPA fucking with them. Cool. Well, the Blast has been really good for us, man. Like, listen, even the Nyholm era, I fucking can't stand Nicola Nyholm. Even the Nicola Nyholm era Blast was good because it raised production level. They actually do employ some like really cool old school endemic esports people. Like Nicholas Estrup, who came out today and had to make a statement because of all of these shenanigans. What happens if like ESL can't be asked anymore. Like, there's just so many uncertainties. There's just so many problems. Like, that we're now about to enter into a world where if you pay the CSPPA, you're immune to player strikes, and if you don't, players will strike over really small things. There's a group of elite players that seem to get all their own way and will have the CSPPA fight for it. Meanwhile, all the tier 2 players are being told, if you want to do things the right way and get involved in the union, you'll actually be better off out there with the rest of the animals match fixing, because we're not going to look after you at all. This is so precarious. The rules that we are laying down, and like I say, Flashpoint hasn't made a lot of money because of COVID. They're being attacked. CSPPA is going after the Blast. They're not making a lot of money. They're going backwards. DreamHack's on its fucking knees and is trash, a waste of time. So we are back to having the ESL Pro League. ESL Pro League are very aware of their position in the marketplace and know they can do what they want. That's filtering down and they're wrecking talent. Talent are leaving in their droves. What happens next if the tier 2 talent that's come up and is now the tier 1 talent? What happens if they don't want to do it anymore? What happens if they want to go get a piece of Valorant? What happens if Riot really likes them? Now, then what have we got? People won't watch the tier 3 casters we've got now. God bless them. It is really fucking precarious. Really precarious, Rod. I am telling you. And somebody has got to step the fuck up and start giving a shit.
I mean, look, I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with everything you're saying. At the same time, you know, Astralis and Navi are playing right now. They're still getting 400,000 people or whatever it is across all platforms at 3 a.m, which is like pretty good. It was a really good game. I mean, so there's still things to be like excited about in the community. I would much rather have Jack, Andy, and Steve and Hector all get together with the CSPPA, with ESIC, with Pro League, Blast, and Flashpoint, and have a concerted effort against Valve to fix some shit. I feel like that, if I were to go with any suggestion or, you know, approach forward, I feel like that is where the energy needs to be put on. Not that all the other things can't, you know, they have to be addressed. The match fixing has to be addressed. The cheating has to be addressed. You know, the stupid fucking voice communication, dumb bullshit. Fine, fix it. Address it. Blah, blah, blah.
If we get to the major next year and our viewership is down and down significantly, it's so bad for the future of the sport. I mean, you know,
I mean, it is going to be competing against Valorant's like breakout year. It's I don't think it's gonna do. It won't do as well as it did before. But I think there are other things to consider other than just Counterstrike dying. It has, you know, it's competition now. Valorant's the first real competition for Counterstrike, I think, ever for the most part. So you can say some of it. I also think Valve is good. Valorant's good for Counterstrike, because it props the game mode.
I said this. There's a clip of me floating around on the internet where I've said, you know, people think Valorant's going to be the Counter-Strike killer. And at that time, when things weren't so bleak and it was pre-pandemic and there wasn't all this madness going on and we still had an NA scene, you know, I basically said, actually what will happen is people will start playing Valorant. They'll hear about Counter-Strike, the granddaddy of them all, the much harder game, the you know, the rock and roll scene and all of the opportunities that it provides. And unfortunately, where Valorant is at right now, even with the abilities, it's still a shallow experience by comparison. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about game versus game. I'm talking about esports scene versus esports scene. Riot have proved they can do it. Riot have proved that they care. LCS in 2021 is going to be, the league is going to be profitable for the first time in its history. They've proven they can deliver on a franchise league. This is all these NA team owners fucking care about, and a few EU ones as well. And they're going to jump across, and they're going to expect Riot to have that same magic touch on Valorant. And you know what? Maybe they fucking will, because it's anything Riot does is going to be better than Valve's in action.
Yes.
So I never thought I'd ever be sat here saying Riot Games are doing better things than Valve in the esports space, but here we fucking are.
What's even more perplexing is that Valve could seize on this opportunity to use Valorant as a gateway drug into Counterstrike. I mean, you already see like a part of their updates. It really feels like they took like the ping system and they've taken like chat stuff from Valorant. And then like after Valorant launched, they're like, oh shit, we could like do all these other things that we never thought of fucking doing or didn't want to, put attention into. They could use Valorant as a way to grow Counterstrike and make more money, which I would think was something that they like to do. In a larger way, and it does feel like a missed opportunity even from that end. Because if Counter-Strike is the much deeper game, I think there's an easier way to get people from Valorant to Counter-Strike than there is from like League to Dota. Because the games are much more similar than they are from League to Dota. It's a much easier way to get people from Valorant who, as their first 5v5 tactical FPS game, to then get those people to play Counter-Strike after. However, if the scene is not going to be nearly as, attractive to play as a competitive player, then all those young players are going to stay in Valorant. They will not switch over to Counter-Strike.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Maybe you know what it's like. They say things are darkest before the dawn. Maybe I'm just too fucking tired of it all, but I just think we've got so many fundamental fucking problems that we haven't addressed. I mean, I just see something rotten every fucking day, and now this CSPPA thing, I just can't believe what I'm seeing. I just can't believe I'm watching a player association, attack a TO over something that seems relatively minor ahead of all the other things that's been done to them. I'll also just add as well, one of the reasons why these TOs are all sort of in the bear pit with each other and fighting with each other, and this is what I mean when it's like, when you see Scoot say like, I'm definitely on the right side of history, it's like, Scott, I love you, brother, but I don't know about that. Because, right, so the CSPPA was going to tournament organizers and saying, right, you have to pay us to get our buy-in, basically give your league the seal of approval, right? We know that's their business model. And what that enables them to do is fund their operations and bring the players in, and the players will play in your league. But what they did was, they were saying to like one TO, well, if you don't give us the money, these guys are, so we'll just have to commit to play in their events. And so the CSPPA precipitates this TO battle with each other. They're all of a sudden, they're like thinking, well, fucking hell, like, they're paying the money so they can get the players to go across to them. And essentially, the CSPPA, which is meant to be fighting for player rights, that is the mechanism through which ESL gets to dominate the calendar essentially for free, because they had the upfront capital and sort of the they could see the big picture and realized, let's just concede and acquiesce. And that's how you end up with the CSPPA going publicly, ESL's amazing. ESL's done more to fuck over players in my time in esports than almost any other TO. It comes obviously with Virtua being the biggest. But I mean, this is an organization that back in the StarCraft days literally told Counter-Strike Source players, you can't have your prize money because we need that money to fly StarCraft 2 players out to StarCraft tournaments that make us more money. That's what ESL has done in the past. So the idea that like CSPPA is some sort of incredible benevolent force that are like siding with the right players here, that is not my understanding. And Scott's a guy that's gone after ESL religiously. Now they're partners. Now they're like not even silent partners, very loud, vocal, posted on the website partners. Where are we headed with that? Where are we headed if ESL and the Players Association, which we know only represents the tier 1 of the players, and ESL are in bed with the tier 1 orgs that employ the tier 1 players? Where are we headed with that? Is it really a player association, or is it like a fucking agency at this point? I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. I thought unions fought for the little fella.
I mean, it's almost worse because
this one doesn't.
This is still the only legit players association in all of esports. So CSPPA is the best we have in all of esports. So I can't fault them. They're still trying to do things, but in a larger sense, yeah. I mean, Scott's comment of like he's on the right side of history, and I don't know how much this is contributing to all of this, but it feels like it's a little bit of it's ego posturing.
Yeah, but I don't even understand.
Has so many.
Scott said he doesn't work for them.
No, but he like advises them. I think it's also close to his heart. Maybe he doesn't work for them, but he wants the CSPPA to succeed because he was.
How can he look? How can he look at some of the stuff they've done and be like, "This is fine"? Old Scott would have called these cunts out. So if he's not taking a check, and I've always believed Scott's integrity is above.
He's probably just taking a side. He's not taking a check. However, he's taking a side, and that is because I was going to say. Right now in Counterstrike, there is a lot of egos, a lot of personalities. A lot of people, we've all known each other for a very long time. And now people work for different companies and different organizations or different sides of this. And everyone wants to butt heads. Everyone wants to talk shit to each other. Everyone wants to try to win the battle. Not only behind the scenes, but in front on Twitter, on Reddit, on talk shows. People would rather posture really hard that they are right. That they have the best way of looking at this and that they are infallible. There's no one else that could be right more than them and everyone else is wrong. And there are, there's a good amount of people. I mean, I feel like that a lot of the time, but I know I'm a fucking idiot a lot of the time too, and that I'm not right. And I feel like people need to have a bit more hubris. It's not just for Counter-Strike. I think this appeals to like a lot of things in life, but right now, not everyone is right. There's a lot of different moving parts in the community. A lot of people are doing shit wrong, and then thinking that there's only one way forward is not. I think is detrimental to the larger cause.
So look, I've been gassing for 3 hours, and I'm gonna do a podcast with your mate Thorin tomorrow. So I do need to save my energy, because I'm gonna have to say all this again with the same level of energy, but also need more energy because I'm gonna have to fight to get a word in when Duncan opens his fucking salvos. So I appreciate you coming on. It's just good to talk to you, mate. It's good to catch up. But obviously,
good to talk to you. We gotta do this more often.
I know. Imagine if there's a world where we could have had a podcast together.
Well, maybe I will say hi to.
You wouldn't fucking turn up half the time, and you'd do my fucking edit. But there is one super important thing, about all of this that I really think we need to ask, and that is basically why you haven't revealed why Dr. Disrespect was banned. I had to say I'm just fucking with you, mate. I'm just fucking with you.
The reason is that
because Valve. Oh, did you log? There you go. He's quit the call. Perfect. He loves doing that. He loves going out and high. That was Slasher Rod, Slasher Breslau. As I've got older, I sort of hang out with everyone now. The old beef doesn't matter. Got to put it aside for the good of esports, people. And if everyone's got a part to play. Good old Rod. So listen, I'll end with this. I'm gonna fuck off and try not to depress myself so much more. We have got so many problems that we need to tackle, and everyone's got a part to play. And I don't know if we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna win. I think like Rod can make the point that 400,000 people are watching Navi versus Astralis in the middle of the night. Right now, people are fans of those organizations because the scene has value. It is worth being a fan of Astralis because they are excellent at Counter-Strike. It is worth being a fan of Simple because he is the best player in Counter-Strike, with maybe the exception of Ziwu. If the scene is devalued, if the scene loses its meaning, those things lose its meaning too, and people will leave. People will stop tuning into the games. I have seen it happen in multiple esports. This is not my first time at the rodeo. I am getting big Brood War vibes right now, and I don't like it. I don't like it. So, the role you play in all of this, as fans, as viewers, as listeners, as consumers of esports content, it is absolutely imperative that you know who the good guys are. It's absolutely imperative that you use your voice. It's absolutely imperative that when things are bad, you know who at least is trying to make them good, and you have to apply your criticism to the right targets. That it is no good making thread after thread after thread about how ESIC are bad, when ESIC like they are like the fucking sheriff in the fucking lawless town that is like, just by virtue of a rusty badge, has to go out there, and there's hundreds of criminals with their guns fucking trained on them every day. That's what ESIC are like. It's hard. And when you see the CSPPA, I know you all love the players. They're on the right side of the argument here with the Blast, but they've been on the wrong side of other arguments many times, and their execution of how hard they have chosen to fight for this is bad. This is an organization, by the way, that puts a higher priority on them having a computer in their hotel room and you know, flying, you know, and having a green room with fresh fruit in it than they do their fellow players being allowed to keep slots in a league they earned. That is wrong. That is not how a union should operate. If you are not willing to stand alongside the weakest member of the union with the least amount of influence and the least amount of power, then it is not a union at all. And you shouldn't pose as one. You want to serve a bunch of special interests, do it. Everyone else in esports fucking does. But do not pose as something you are not. And you guys have got to recognize that. We love the players. I've been fighting for players' rights for as long as I've been able to. But the CSPPA, it is not what we needed. They are not applying the pressure to the right people. They are not fighting the right battles. They are not helping their weaker members. These are facts. The evidence is there. You need to understand that what these orgs have done by keeping the coaches employed or sometimes hiring coaches is bad. I saw people out there standing for Zona. I saw people out there going, yeah, well, I mean, like, you know, I like Hunden and Regin and that, like, so yeah, I mean, you know, what's the thing? No, there's when you give up on holding an appreciable standard, you've lost the scene. It goes. Competition matters. Rules matter. Punishments matter. Achievements matter. Excellence matters. If you start stripping that away, you have nothing. I can't stress that enough. And so you guys need to take that knowledge and apply it sensibly. Valve has sold you all down the river. They sold everyone in their esports scene down the river. Tournament organizers are selling their talent down the river. Don't hate on them for sounding tired after a 16-hour day. Don't hate on them because the hype, you know, for a matchup they've seen for the 20th time in the past 3 months, they can't be as excited or it sounds contrived. Support your guys. They're there for you. These are your people. Like, this community has got to start acting like one for the first fucking time. Just put the petty shit away. Let's try and fix this fucking scene while we still have one to save. And that's it. That's the 3 hours in a nutshell. You can't rely on Valve. You can't rely on ESL. You can't rely on the CSPPA. You can't rely on anyone. Once again, it's going to be the likes of us, the amateurs, the people who give a fuck, rolling up our sleeves and grafting. And I'm old and tired, and I don't want to have to do it again. People need to pick up the torch and do it. Like Michał did. Like Dudenhofer did. You see something wrong, fix it. You see somebody doing something wrong, call it out. If you think something can be better, let people know. Vote with your wallets if you're not happy with the direction Valve goes in. If when we do get to the major, they serve up another subpar, same old bullshit, stickers and signatures package again, do not buy it. They won't give us crowdfunding anyway because they don't want to be seen to copy Dota. Tap out. You're a powerful block. And if you use it correctly, we can fucking avert this disaster. But if not, listen, I'll see you over in Valorant. Riot won't welcome me, but my content will be straight fire. I'll make the Valorant Zoomers fucking love me. But I'm not doing another year in this broken, bust up fucking scene where everyone is miserable, everyone is broke, everyone is tired, and everyone's trying to fucking rob everyone else blind, while the fucking people who are meant to be protecting you are just fucking enhancing it and lining their own pockets. I'm not doing it anymore, and you shouldn't want to do it either.